From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through.
It's a beautiful morning. Welcome to Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Ekpo Temple. On today's edition of the show, Aruna kick off this year with WTT Championship in Doha. Belgian Grand Prix agrees new Formula 1 rotational deal in football. West Ham sack Lopetegui after 6 months in charge. Details of this and many more shortly will be yours after now.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, this is Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. A lot for you this morning. Of course, we have a loaded bulletin. Here in the studio is Simon and Michael. Mike, welcome to the show.
Good morning to you, Temple, and good morning to our viewers. They're always a delightful moment doing this with you.
All right, let's get started with tennis. This morning, as Aruna Quadri will kick off his New Year campaign as the 5th seed at the WTT Star Contender in Doha this weekend at the Lusail Sports Arena in Qatar. Aruna, who started there 2025 as the second highest rated African, is ranked 21st in the latest ITTF rankings, just behind Egypt Omar Assar, who is ranked 18th in the world. As one of the top-ranked players at the WTT Star Contender, Aruna is seeded number 5, following Japan's Tomokazu Harimoto's Germany's Dan Kui, Germany's Patrick Francisca, and Slovenian Darko Jokic, who are the top 4 seeds in the men's singles. Doha has been a favorable venue for Aruna as he reached the semi-final stage at the 2022 edition, and he hopes to replicate such or surpass that achievement this year. So, Mike, it's one thing. Doha is always a venue. In the last 4 years, we have seen how consistent the WTT Contender Series was held there, and the last year was not a very good one at all for him. Even in 2023, it wasn't a very palatable one. He had an injury concern and all that. Last year, a lot of even when he came into that last year as #1 in Africa, but this year he is still basking in the euphoria of trying to see if he can achieve something great from that side. And the big question is, can he go one step better in that in Doha?
For me, I'm very hopeful that Haruna Quadri is going to do, go a step further from his 2022 performance where he got to the semi-final at the same Doha as then he was ranked African #1. But this time around, he's going there as 21st ranked player in the world, and second in Africa behind Omar Assar. I think for me, taking a look at his poor performance last season, especially being blighted with injury, a lot of injury had to hamper his progression last season. This season, I hope he's going to be very free to take part in this very one. And I think he has what it takes. Just like you mentioned earlier, Doha has been a very favorable ground for Haruna Quadri because that is where he got to the semi-final in the 2022 edition. So hoping that this year he can also replicate that same feat of 2022 edition or even surpass that feat. But I tell you, it's going to be an enormous task for Haruna Quadri because a lot of other great players will be also taking part in this very one. But like I said earlier, I think I'm very hopeful, knowing the qualities that Haruna Quadri brings to the table. I think he has what it takes to go out there and even surpass his previous edition.
That's what it takes to go out there, and of course, a total prize pool of $275,000 US is at stake. When you put that into naira, it's a huge sum of money. You know, talking about millions of naira there, and the players will be hoping that as the year starts, they can grab their hands in some of the chunk of money that have already been allocated into the prize money and all that. So, Haruna, for him, it's win this money and get your hand on the. Win big or get to the later stages of the competition and think of getting your hands on some of this, the fund that has been allocated for the championship.
Yeah, for me, I think majorly it's not all about the money, but it's all about the money as well. I think for me, what he will be carrying at the back of his mind is to go out there and give a good account of himself and also head back to that a great position where he will be ranked as African #1 or possibly move up the ranking in the world maybe from 21st position that is occupying right now to probably 14th or even 15th or within the 10th ranked best players in the world. That should be his primary motive. But then you can't take away the role that money plays in sport as well. Some of these sportmen and women, the only way they get to make money is while still playing on the court. If they get to retire, it becomes pretty difficult for them to strike deals with different brand or companies out there. So now that they are still very much active, I think they take advantage of the monetary value that is attached to some of this championship, to go out there, and get the money. So for the money, very, very important for Haruna Quadri, whose career probably may say is gradually winding down, because I think for me, age is gradually catching up on Haruna Quadri, and he will just have few years to play the game as well. So for me, it would be very important that he also, partake in this chunk of money. If you can probably hit the semi-final or probably the final, I think he stands a chance of, going home with a chunk of the money, which is very, very important because his career, like I said, is gradually coming to an end, and he needs this money to also do some other things after his retirement. Definitely, you know, after your retirement, things be no longer the same, just like when you were still playing during your playing days, where you get a lot of contract, get a lot of money from different brands. So I think for me, first, it's about him, you know, bouncing back to a better position. Secondly, it's about getting the money as well. That will also help him as well to, you know, build on after his career. So the monetary aspect, very, very important. I think it's a very huge one out there.
Very huge one out there, and of course, let's go one step ahead and of course bring you what is happening in preparation for the first Grand Slam of the season. And you know what? The US Open finalist Jessica Pegula marked her return from injury with a fantastic dominant win over Maria Sakkari at the Adelaide International. The American top seed took just 73 minutes to claim a 6-4, 6-1 win over Grace Sakkari and moved into the quarterfinals of the WTT 500 event. It was Pegula's first match since she withdrew from the WTA finals in November with a knee injury, and she reached her first major single final at the September US Open, where she fell to a straight defeat by Aryna Sabalenka. She will enter the Australian Open, which starts this Sunday, as the 7th seed in the women's singles. Pegula has always been there, you know, but somehow she had injury concerns. She went back, prepared. She's back now, and she's always a good player anytime. Just that she's never been able to, you know, show her dominance when compared to the big names like Aryna Sabalenka, you know, Iga Swiatek, and Coco Gauff also. But she has shown that she is always that player that will be within the top 10. It doesn't matter, because she may not be in the big names, but she has a way of going to WTA and getting vital wins and winning some likely WTAs for her. That has also boosted her ranking. But let's talk about the fact that she's back now and her expectation for the Australian Open starting this Sunday.
I think for me, first, for Jessica Pegula, a great player any day, anytime. Bouncing back after that injury spell out there to also defeat her opponent, I think it shows a sign that she's indeed ready for the Australian Open. And I think for me, she's one player that I love so much because of the way she carries herself, the way she, you know, shows the passion on the court out there. So for me, I think good a thing that she's been able to beat that injury concern since November last year, and to make it through this time around. I think it's a very great one, a great news for tennis followers out there, especially for her fans. And for me, I think I'm very hopeful that this season she might just the way I saw her last night displaying her prowess and you know, games out there. If she continue with that you know, excitement, I possibly see her, you know, breaking some marks this season. But my only concern or problem with her is about consistency. Most of the time when you expect Jessica Pegula to hit her prime, you know, she just doesn't live up to that high expectation. But for this season, winning her first game after coming back from injury, I think is a plus, and it is a morale booster for her. You know, but then the WTA is always a very competitive you know, session where most of the big name players jostle for honor and trying to maintain their rankings. You know, likes of Iga Swiatek, Marketa Vondrousova, you know, just name them. A lot of competition within the WTA. I just hope that she can be able to hit that her prime this time around if she stays free from injury.
Hit her prime this time around if she stays free from injury. And meanwhile, Marketa Vondrousova involvement in this year's or this coming week Australian Open has hit a roadblock as a lot of issues involving her there. It looks like she may not be part of this particular one. Injury concerns here and there, and that seems to have stuttered a lot about what is happening for some of the players.
Not a very good one for some of these players, especially when the Australian Open comes, you know, around knocking on the corner. It looks very difficult for some of these players after waiting, you know, to actually kickstart the season in an impressive fashion. But injury is part of the game. You can never predict any time that it comes, and it looks as though it has hampered so many players you know, from attending or being taking part in this very Australian Open. You know, a few days ago we heard about the concern of Nick Kyrgios, who also got a little bit of bruises, you know, in the kitchen while also cooking the Christmas, you know, dishes for himself, which actually kept him out of the first pre-tournament of the season. But then, as he reassured his fans that he might possibly be fit for that very one. So not a good time, especially, you know, heading into a major tournament such as the Australian Open, and you are nursing injury. I think is always very devastating because most of them did not, you know, plan for this. Some of them have been preparing very seriously, you know, ahead of the Australian Open. All just at the nick of time, you get injured. It could be very devastating. I think for me, not a nice one at all. And especially, you know, when a season get off this way in a new year, you would love to see some or most of the big players, you know, all coming to, you know, showcase their talent out there. It is the aura. It brings a lot of excitement within the tennis fraternity, because a whole lot of tennis followers and lovers across the globe want to keep their eyes closed, you know, to some of these big names to see how they are faring. But quite unfortunate that when you are anticipating to see the best of the championship out there, you discover that some of these big names, you know, is out injured. It could be very frustrating for the fans out there, for the organizers, because, you know, the big names brings a whole lot of money. It brings a whole lot of attraction to the competition itself, where different brands want to put in their money out there, because, you know, the more the big names that will take part in such competition, the more the fans, the more the, you know, expectation, the more the hostility, the more the, you know, excitement comes. And for me, it helps the brands as well that have striking partnership deal with you know, tennis federation, who get to also, you know, recoup their money, but also, you know, plowing back what they've invested. So when you are seeing some of these big name players pulling out of such a big competition, courtesy of one or two injuries out there, it could be very frustrating for the organizers, you know, for even the players and the fans at well. So for me, I think it's not a good one for her at all.
Not a good one for her at all. And Great Britain's Harry Dutt and Billy Harris have also reached the final round of the ongoing Australian Open. And of course, a lot to talk about what's happening in. Let's move on now, and of course, let's bring you other stories, you know, in sports, because it's not going easy. But Michael, it looks like we are now a few days to the Australian Open, and one thing very certain is that the big guys and the minnows, some who are looking for, you know, top ranking points, some who are looking for elevation from where they are, some who are looking to get into the top 100, so, you know, will all press down, and that's very, very important when it comes to you know, tennis tournament like this. So a lot of expectations as we head on, but then the expectation for we, you know, pundits and followers of tennis, I'm just thinking, what will be their expectation going to the Australian Open this week?
A lot. First is to see some of these big names who couldn't hit their prime last season to also come to the party, you know, to make the WTA and the ATP more competitive, because we saw last year that only one man was just holding sway as the world #1 in the ATP, talking about Jannik Sinner. This season, the expectation from we, you know, sport pundit is to see some of these big names living up to expectation, where we're going to see a healthy rivalry, a healthy competition within some of these big names, likes of Novak Djokovic, who has deployed the services of a former player, talking about Andy Murray, to also make sure that he hit his 25th Grand Slam. Players like Carlos Alcaraz, players like Taylor Fritz, German Stefo, these are big name players that you know, expectation will be high on them to also give Jannik Sinner a run for his money as the world #1. You know, after dethroning Novak Djokovic last year from the world #1, he has continued to maintain that spot for a very long time, and look as though it has become his birthright. So the expectation for this season is to see some of these big names living up to expectation, thereby, you know, making the ATP more competitive, not just having one man, you know, sitting as the world #1 for a very long time without any serious contenders out there. Then in the WTA as well, We want to see Iga Swiatek bouncing back to world #1. The likes of Marketa Vendrosova, the likes of Iga Swiatek, the likes of Corey Kokogov, Jessica Pegula, our own Onjoboa. These are big names players that you expect them to up their ante, raise the bar of their game this year, so as for us to see more exciting, WT and see some of the great skills they had to display others. So these are some of the expectations. And then again, most importantly, some of the expectation again will lie on the international tennis integrity unit, about the way they are carrying out their duties in terms of trying to punish some players who goes contrary to the rules. Last year we saw one or two issues popped up as some players was fingered, or not fingered, was allegedly found contradicting the rules. Players like Yannick Sinner, testing positive twice, no serious action is taken against him, and some are saying maybe more like a preferential treatment from him and a lot of that. So this year as well, the expectation is to see if anybody goes contrary to the rules, if the tennis integrity unit is going to live up to their nomenclature by wielding the big hammer, not minding whose odds is being God out there, not being sentimental favoritism. So these are some of the expectations for the year 2025, which for me, I think I'm seriously expecting some of these changes and putting my eyes on the ground to see how the tennis integrity unit is going to make sure that they maintain that nomenclature by staying true to the course of their duty, by not being partial, by giving to Mr. A what they give to Mr. B, so that we see fairness without being biased, because these some of their actions last year and inaction has actually caused a whole lot of raising of the eyebrow, where so many players has come to the media to actually criticize their decision and all of that. So for me, these are some of the things that I'll be expecting this season, to see how they stay through to the course of tennis.
How they stay through to the course of tennis, and of course, let's see how far it goes. And a lot of expectation, like you said, Mike, and I think that that's on point, because those expectations will materialize, or get to see how the activities of tennis will be looked at from spectators' point of view, and then pundits as well as fans. So all these put together will make for a tennis year. Expectations are high, actually, as we count down to the first Grand Slam of the tennis season. Away from that, UK athletics has been charged with manslaughter over the death of Paralympian Abdullahi Yahya. He died at age 36 after a metal cage fell on him while training at a Newham Leisure Center. The Crown Prosecution Service has charged UK Athletics Limited with corporate manslaughter and a health and safety at work act offense. I'm just trying to put my heads together to really know how this, but it's good that in the Western world, things like this can be taken seriously. If it was in Nigeria, it would have been a different case altogether. And that's why the health of every athlete, every citizen, in the US is well cared for, and so you are accountable for whatever happens to any of them, and that's what they are doing here. It doesn't matter how you look at it. Yes, he's dead, but then there must be a consequence. Someone must be accountable for his death, and that's what the prosecution units are doing.
Yeah, for me, I think, life is supreme. That is why they guide it with all amount of diligence out there in UK. You don't get to play or mess around with someone's life. It's very, very important. Safety first. They will always tell, even you go to some of these expatriates working right here in the country, you go to their companies, to their industry while working, the first thing you see at their entrance there is safety first, because they understand what it means. You need to be safe for you to also continue doing that very well. So if a certain organization fails to provide the necessary safety protocols, and something dangerous or something terrible happens to anybody within that locus in quo or within that area, then they will be held accountable, for not taking safety precaution very serious out there, and that is why they have been charged for this very one for manslaughter. I think for me it's a very terrible one. This is not the kind of news we want to hear. You know, the UK, they take life very serious. That is why even in the US as well, you sometimes heard about the policy of their former president talking about Barack Obama, the Obamacare, which brought a whole lot of issues when you know, Trump was like still doing his campaign out there. Some were saying that he's going to repeal the Obamacare Foundation, which actually caused a whole lot of eyebrow, you know, because they know the importance of safety, they know the importance of, you know, these things, and that is why they take it very serious. So for me, I think it's a very devastating one because of lack of proper safety protocols, or someone life is gone. And for me, I think they need to pay for it so that it serve as a deterrent to others.
Deterrent to others, and let's see how far this goes. One thing I know for sure is that life is paramount. Life cannot be regained when lost, and every federation needs to be held accountable for the life of their athletes. And I hope that is also a lesson, you know, for we here in Nigeria and authorities to know that every athlete's life is important, and they need to account for it. Moving on, the Belgian Grand Prix has secured a new contract that will keep it on the Formula One calendar for 4 out of 6 years from 2026 to 2031. It is the first deal of this type signed by Formula One, which is seeking to find ways of accommodating new events in an already crowded calendar. The contract details that the historic Spa Francorchamps circuit will host races in 2026, 2027, 2029, and 2031. Mike, it's good that you have such plans. My own challenge is when these plans are, or this new year, yes, the Formula 1 season starts you know, 2 months from now. Maybe they are just trying to see how far they can blend it up.
It's about you know, showing interest for some of the countries that have been hosting Grand Prix out there. You know, a lot of other countries, you know, pushing forward to ensure that Formula One is brought to their own city as well. You know what it means. Our own African country brothers here, they are also making moves to ensure that they bring Formula One down to Africa since 1996. You know, because of this high concern from other countries to host the Formula One or to host the Grand Prix has made it very, very sensitive for some of their affiliate countries that have been hosting the Formula One races out there to ensure that you know, they re-update or revalidate, you know, their partnership with Formula One out there. And that is why Belgium is taking it very serious. They want to do everything possible to have you know, continue to host the Grand Prix out there, and that is why they have also re-signed a deal that will see them host this year's Grand Prix at some point. And so for me, I think this is what we talk about organizational structure. If you have the good organizational structure, you have the good platform, you see people just literally without being pushed, without being coerced to come and identify with you, because you've been able to build the template in a way that it suits them, because they know if they put their money there, they are going to, you know, also maximize profit. Just imagine the crowd, you know, you see in the Formula One, the popularity that it gives them out there, you know. So for me, and that is why Belgium is doing everything possible to ensure that they continue to, you know, host the Formula One. I think it's a great one. I hope other countries as well is also taking advantage of this, and I hope that Nigeria as well, you know, is taking note of these things, that you need to first put the proper structure and organizational structure in place. You need to also find a way to also give coloration to whatever department that you are, whichever sporting unit that you are, to ensure that at least it becomes so lucrative that sponsors will just literally come and invest without being compelled. This is what it means, and for me, I think it's a great idea. I hope that other nations is also taking a cue from this.
Other nations taking a cue from this. We're going to short break now. When we come back, we'll have more for you this morning on Sports. So please don't go anywhere.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Alright, welcome back. It's the second part of the show here on Atlantic Television Network. We appreciate your staying tuned in to the program. And of course, I still have Michael here in the studio. It's time to talk football matters. We'll start from the home scene where the management of Barao Football Club has suspended Salisu Yusuf as technical advisor effective immediately. This was contained in a statement by Ahmad Hamisu Gwale, the Barao FC media officer, following the decision that was made in a meeting where the management appreciated his effort during his tenure, particularly in the Nigerian National League 2024-2025 season. Consequently, Chief Coach Rabiu Tata will assume the role of the interim technical advisor with his assistant supporting the team's activity. This is more like a termination of contract, and while we expect a response from Salisu Yusuf for the termination of contract, because it doesn't look like there was a mutual consent here. What do you make of this?
I think it's not a very good one. Losing your job as a new year that you just entered is not a good one at all. It takes a whole lot, for you to survive. The little that you have doing, you just woke up to discover that you've been sacked or fired from your job. It could be very devastating, but the reason for his the termination of his contract is still very, very sketchy as at this point. You know, so I can't truly speak for any of the camp, either for the club or for the coach whose contract has been terminated. But we'll just wait to see in the few days to come. We'll get clearer pictures on the reason or the reasons why he was relieved of his appointment. But as it is right now, I can't truly say much because I do not have any concrete, you know, evidence or concrete information regarding what might have led to his, you know, relieving of his duty out there. So for me, but then I think it's not a good one. But before the club could just wake up and, you know, decided to terminate his contract, that means there's something fishy, you know, that is happening behind the scene that we are not aware about, and that is why I'm saying maybe we'll give it less than 24 hours. We'll get to dig deep and find out what might have, you know, resulted to this termination of his contract. And
not a very good one, but let's move away from the NNL now and let's talk about the game that was played yesterday in the Nigeria Premier Football. You don't forget that while others are resting, Eyimba Football Club will not have any rest. The reason is simple. They have to play their standing matches, Mike. And yesterday we saw that triumph against Nasarawa United, March the 17th for Eyimba. And this looks like it's a rescheduled game, no doubt. But Eyimba will hold solace that they are beginning to gather momentum, especially looking at the way they played the game yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's a good start from the experience. Gaffer talking about Stanley Eguma, who has brought his wealth of experience to bear for the Eyimba side. He's played about 3 games since he
hasn't lost any.
You know, he drew his first game, won his second game comprehensively in the CAF Confederation Cup against the Red Bull, 4-1. It was a comprehensive victory. Yesterday, he also got a win, one of the outstanding games, 2-1 with Joseph Atule, who is in form, also opening the score. The scoring. Then we have the veteran, you know, former Super Eagles striker Brani Deye coming off the bench as well to also seal the victory. So 3 games he has played, 2 wins and 1 draw. I think it's not a good one. Great start from Stanley Eguma, and it's looking likely that Eyimba is still in for the title chase because they have 27 points right now. They still have 2 outstanding games. So if they get to win these 2 outstanding games, they will be on 33 points. The league leader talking about Remo Stars are on 36 points. So there will be 3 points, you know, adrift of the league leader. And that is why I'm saying that Eyimba is looking likely that they've also rejuvenated their title chase so far this season. And I tell you, if they continue with this impressive form we've seen of them since the incoming of Stanley Eguma, then Eyimba will vie for the title because we still have many games to come. So for me, I think it's a great start for Eyimba. I hope they continue to build on this very momentum going forward.
How easy or difficult is it for we journalists and spectators to easily swap when things seems to be different? You know, I remember vividly that you visited here a few weeks ago. You know, well, bashing Eyimba, especially Lerewaju.
The reason was very simple.
For not, you know, doing the needful. And then I also asked you the same question, that do you think that they can get a league ticket? And you said it doesn't look likely. So what has changed now?
The thing is that, you know, their former coach, Olarewaju, you could also remember vividly that I made it very clear the reason is that Olarewaju is still learning on the job. He wasn't that, you know, ready for the job. I said it, that he wasn't ready for the job when the opportunity came. When Finidi George left, because he was still a prodigy to Finidi George. Finidi George left for the national team job, and they had no option than to draft Olarewaju, who wasn't prepared, because you need to prepare and wait, and opportunity comes. That is where you get to excel. You talk about success, but he hasn't been preparing, and suddenly the opportunity came. They had no other choice, talking about Eyimba Authority, than to draft him in order to fill that void, you know, because according to them, it would be better that somebody who truly understands the teams, who has been with the players, understand the philosophy, has been working under the tutelage of the head coach, talking about Finidi George, would be a better option than going to bring someone outside, you know, and that is why they had to. And it is very clear that he wasn't prepared for the job. That is why they even had to send him for a refresher's course abroad so that he can be able to upgrade, you know, his coaching experience. But the refreshers course that he went for and came back, he did not refresh the club. So at that point,
it looks like things are not going well. But the man says that it is not time for them to start celebrating.
Of course, yes, and that is for you to know a coach that is very serious. You don't just win 2-game draw one and think, oh, it is it is an uhuru. You start jubilating, you start celebrating, forgetting to do the needful, keeping your eyes on the ball, which is what we call the Red Bull. I mean, the bull's eye, hitting the bull's eye, which is the target. What is the target for them this season? Is it about winning 2 games and drawing one? Is that the target? No, of course. That is why the coach is saying that, come on, man, it's not yet an uhuru. Let's continue to, you know, walk the walk and get to the final destination, which is the last end of the season, and see if they can be able to qualify for, you know, the continental sports.
And obviously, some in their heart, psychologically rather,
Yeah.
a lot of us would think that the return of Goma,
Yeah.
you know, is also going to reignite some form of revenge. Maybe not directly to Rivers United, but to show Rivers United that yes,
Yeah.
yes, I apart from, because all his life has been with Rivers United.
True.
Apart from what it takes to coach elsewhere, and you know that internal revenge will just might just be the push towards success for him.
Yeah, definitely. It do happens in every field and not just in football. That if you get sacked from where you were working, and fortunately you get another new job, and maybe your former company had to cross paths, you know, they will get to hear of what you are doing in your new place of work. They want to see, you want to tell them, and indeed you are perfect, you are good in your job, and you know, more to them, trying to tell them that they lost a lot, you know, while letting you go. So for me, even players do that as well. You discover that when player A is plying his trade for, you know, club B, for example, and when he gets to leave that club B to another club, you know, coming back to play against that club, you always want to vent his anger just to tell his former employer that, man, you let me go. This is what is up in my sleeve. This is what I have in my kitty. But you look as though you did not value my services. Let me show you what I can do. That is why you see some of the players, when they want to get their former club fans, you know, furious, when they score against them, they celebrate, you know, just to prove a point to them. We saw that during the era of Emmanuel Adebayo, who was playing for Arsenal, then he swapped to Manchester City, and they had a meeting, and Adebayo scored against Arsenal. He almost ran the pitch.
And that became
exactly
matter on its own.
Exactly. So most times, some of these coaches want to use that as a means of more like, you know, a revenge mission to tell the club that sacked him that, man, I've got these things in me, but you let me go because you don't know my value. Here is my worth, you know, so that it will serve as more like a pain in their bone. So for me, I think that is also going to ginger him, especially when Enyimba will get to meet with Rivers United. I think we'll see a lot of that.
So before we coast home the show today, Rangers have, you know, given the players extended holiday, and that implies that they still have like 7 more days to rest and prepare for the new phase of the season.
My problem is that in the Nigerian Premier Football League, we always, you know, do our own thing, you know, in an
different
awkward way. Players, you give them an extended break since 3rd of January, but you are coming to just give the announcement to
now.
Make it public now. Just tomorrow, they will be resuming tomorrow, and you are just making man, come on, we need to upgrade.
And that is very unfortunate. Let's move on. Yesterday we saw the EFL Cup between Tottenham Hotspur and Liverpool. That game was played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and for once in a very long time, Daniel Levy, we smile and look at and maybe sleep for yesterday, because I look at what happened in that game. I told myself that Daniel Levy is on fire. I am just wondering, but somehow that game ended in favor of Tottenham.
Yeah, I think it was a master-class display from Tottenham out there. And you see, Manchester United just opened the Pandora's box on how to trap down Liverpool. You know, it's been very difficult for teams to get to, you know, beat Liverpool at the course of the season. But you discover one thing about these two teams that have given them tough time. The likes of Nottingham Forest, they had to use the, you know, close marking approach. if you want to frustrate Liverpool pattern of play, just close mark them. Don't give them that breathing space. You saw how Tottenham was, bringing down on their necks right there yesterday. And Manchester United actually gave Tottenham a clue on how to beat Liverpool, because the game against Manchester United, Manchester United close-marked Liverpool players. They didn't allow them that luxury of time to settle down, relax, and think where they want to pass the ball to. Immediately, a ball get to their feet. Talking about the Liverpool player, you see 2 or 3 men doubling down on such player, and it makes them confused. That is what Tottenham did last night, and you see them closing down on Liverpool players. At the end of it all, Liverpool players will just give the ball away cheaply like that. So if you want to get the better of Liverpool, mark them closely. Don't give them the breathing space for them to express themselves and carry out their tactical plan. And that is where you get the better of them. That is what happened yesterday. Tottenham had plethora of chances to have even made it 3 goals or even 4 goals as well. Though Liverpool had their own chances as well, but couldn't convert it. Football is about taking your chances when it comes, even if it is one. Tottenham scored what seems to be a beautiful goal. It was disallowed, for an offside, but then they were not deterred. They still scored at the 86 minutes, which is very painful at that point for you to consider. So for me, the trick to unlock Liverpool defense and make them ineffective on a pitch of play is to close mark them. When you do that, just forget about it. The highest Liverpool will get in such a match is a draw. And unfortunately, they couldn't even get a draw last night. So their secret is beginning to be opened up gradually. A draw against Manchester United over the course of the weekend, and a loss in the midweek against, if other clubs can follow the trajectory of what Manchester United and Tottenham have done to Liverpool, I tell you, their season may just gradually be winding down.
It's very evident that we have a lot of persons who are just looking out for the pitfalls of Liverpool, But that's the beauty of the English Premier League. Many thanks to you, Mike, for doing the needful on the show today. It's always a pleasure to have you close by.
Thank you very much.
And of course, later this evening, when we come back for Sports Extraordinary, we'll take a look at the National Sports Festivals. The National Sports Festival, I beg your pardon, National Sports Commission's budget, appropriation B, and its implementation. We'll also take a look at how sporting federations we queue into that budget, and then we also look at the appointment of the Super Eagles coach. Reaction can also trade that particular one, but we'll look at it from the perspective of the contractual terms. Okay, so we'll look at it from that perspective and then see how far we can educate our viewer how how the man intends to go about his job. He's arriving in Nigeria a few days from now, so all that will be our focus on. You should not forgetting other transfer issues and also other football stories from various clubs in Europe. It will be a delightful package when we come back 6 p.m. for Sports Extraordinary. Until then, stay blessed, stay locked. This is Atlantic Television Network. Airport Temple is my name. I'm saying Arrivederci is one game football without violence. Bye-bye.
From the lines across the ocean to the From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.